next? It's everyone's favorite video game discussion show. An all-new GameView starts right now.
Hey guys, Scott here.
Roxie as well.
And welcome to GameView for November 2017. Tonight on the program, rated M for mature. When was the last time you saw games like Doom and Skyrim on a Nintendo console? Well, they're on the Switch, and Roxy has a couple of things to say about that. Then, everyone loves to hate 3D Sonic, specifically Sonic Forces. Some people love it, a lot more hate it. We're gonna get into the debate a little later on. After that, Mario Party hits the Nintendo 3DS again! And there's only one question on our minds: why? Next up, Pokémon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon are the final Pokémon games for the Nintendo 3DS. Thank Arceus, especially because we're all tired of the 3DS. And we wrap things up for the night with the rumor list. We've got a couple tidbits of information on the next Pokémon game coming out on the Nintendo Switch, and we are going to discuss them. But we've got a lot of stuff to cover before we get there, so without further ado, let's get started. Roxy, take it away.
The Elder Scrolls V Skyrim on the Nintendo Switch.
Alright, what the heck is this game? I've never played it, I haven't heard of it until like a month ago.
Okay, first of all, how have you never heard of Skyrim?
I just haven't. I've never...
How? You're well older than I am as well. How have you never heard of this game? It has been around for years and years and remade constantly. There's so many mods for it on PC and on Xbox One. It's been released on the 360, the PS3 as well, I believe. I'm not too sure. PC, what else? The Xbox One and PS4, and now the Nintendo Switch.
I don't really pay much attention to the non-Nintendo titles, so that's probably why. But anyways, so what's the hype surrounding this?
All I can tell you is it's just it's an adventure game. It's a first-person adventure game where you play as a certain class, like Archer, and you use bows to hunt dragons, and you can do spells. I've actually never played it, and I've never seen much of it, but I know that so many people love the game, but they're just waiting on something new.
So it almost kind of sounds like Game of Thrones, right? With dragons in a medieval sense, or...
Yeah, kind of, I guess. Like I said, I know little to nothing about Skyrim. I've personally never been interested in it. There are a lot of people who love it, and if they love it, then they'll play it. I may pick it up at some point on the Switch, because, you know, it is a mobile version of Skyrim. And for Skyrim fans who, let's say they go on a long car ride with a friend, they could bring a Nintendo Switch with them and play. If Skyrim's their favorite game, they could play their favorite game on it. And it's just, I think that's the main thing that Skyrim on the Switch has for it, is that it's a portable version of Skyrim.
Okay then. All I can tell you is what I'm reading here. It talks about winner of more than 200 Game of the Year awards, so I guess it's got a following. Legend of Zelda Amiibo unlocks things like the Master Sword Champion's Tunic and Highland Shield.
Yeah, I believe it's with one of the Breath of the Wild Link amiibos. You get the full outfit for Link in Skyrim, and you get to use the Hylian Shield and Master Sword, and that's pretty much it. But hey, you can play as Breath of the Wild Link in Skyrim. I think it's pretty neat.
Okay, I'm guessing that would be the main reason you would get this game then.
Well, kind of. If I get Skyrim on the Switch, I'll definitely have to pick up a Link amiibo for it.
Okay, makes sense. And for the record, according to this, it says it's 14.5 gigabytes in case any of you guys want to download the digital version. Also rated M, blood and gore, intense violence, sexual themes, and use of alcohol. Who doesn't love that? Am I right?
Well, that would certainly be why you've never heard of Skyrim, Scott.
Probably. Alright, so I'm probably not going to pick this up, but it sounds like you're leaning towards it, maybe?
If I have some extra money at some point, and I've run dry on games to play, then I might pick it up.
Alright.
I wouldn't say it's a must-have, though.
Okay, I think that settles that. Alright, what else have we got for you guys tonight?
We have the Doom 2016 port onto the Nintendo Switch, which this is an amazing thing. And the reason why it's amazing is for multiple reasons. One, it shows that the Switch is very capable of running games like Doom, which are so graphic heavy. Because I have seen a little bit of Doom's playstyle before. Like, I've seen how it looks in different videos here and there. And it's incredibly bloody and gory, but there's so much going on the screen that I'm actually a little bit shocked that the Switch can run it, but that is great. And the other reason it's great is it shows that Nintendo is more than willing to have these more rated M games on their consoles. Like, we first saw them doing it with things like, well, we saw it years ago with certain games on the 64 and on the Switch, but it shows the Switch, on the GameCube, but it shows more now on the Switch, or it actually, I would say, shows more on the Wii U when we got Bayonetta 1 and 2, and now we have things like Doom, which is, well, let's say, all of these are pretty M-rated games. Yeah. And it's just showing that Nintendo is realizing that more of their fans aren't just little kids and young teenagers. Some of their fans are well into their adult years, or just starting their adult years, and they want something more than just happy, fun Mario jumping on Goombas, or Link killing a Bokoblin.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, at least with the Switch so far, it seems like Nintendo has sort of developed an understanding for their core audience. Because I would say the majority of the Wii U life cycle, and even to an extent, I guess, the Wii, it was more aimed at younger players in general. But yeah, just with the number of titles that are, rated, like, I want to say, like, 15 years and older that are already available on the Switch. It goes to show you that they're appealing to more of the hardcore segment and the older crowd as well. I will say this, though. I mean, the last time that I played Doom, and this is gonna make me feel really old, it was in the 90s. I think I had, like, a Windows 95 machine, for crying out loud. And I was playing Doom, and the graphics were so pixelated, and I remember, like, shooting the guns, and all these weird, ugly, alien, 1980s-esque graphics design monsters were exploding, and the blood was flying all over the place, but I haven't really touched it since then, so I don't really know a lot about it.
Well, if you thought they were pixely back then, imagine seeing all those aliens that you were shooting just recreated in masterful HD. Like, I will say this, Doom is a very thematically pretty game. it's not just something that you could throw together. It has a lot of polish to its graphics, which kind of shows, seeing as the last I remember, the Switch version of Doom ran in 30 FPS, which a lot of people, this might turn a lot of people off, because 30 FPS for a first-person shooter in this day and age is not ideal. It makes the game feel slow, and it makes the controls feel jittery.
So I'm guessing that's your only gripe with it then, right?
That would be the only gripe I have for Doom 2016.
At least on a positive note, it does seem like Bethesda is doing something good for a change, because I remember back in the early 2000s, the company was having a lot of issues, just games not running properly and having, like, errors, cough, Star Trek Legacy, cough. But yeah, at least with Skyrim and Doom, for the most part, it sounds like they've gone back on track. Anything else you want to say on this?
Not really. Not about Doom, no.
Okay, so let's move on then.
To the good old Blue Blur in 3D. Sonic Forces came out this month as well. And I'm not sure how I feel about this. I haven't been able to play the game yet, but I'm personally not getting the Switch version. I have to wait until Christmas, but I'm getting the PlayStation 4 version. And there's a reason for this, and the reason is because the Switch version has 60 frames per second graphics, but 30 FPS controls, which is very, very weird and very odd. Now, at my local GameStop where I typically go to get all my games, the manager there he's played the Sonic Forces on the Switch, and he said it's pretty great. He said that, yeah, it's been getting a lot of mixed reviews, but he personally likes it, and he's been playing the Switch version, so maybe it's just because I think the idea of 30 control, 60 graphics is really weird, and I would rather have 60 control, 60 graphics. But this game has been met with very, very mixed reviews, even to the point where there was controversy involving a Twitch streamer, Steam, and the game, but that's a story for a different time. It's a very short game, though. I believe the game is only 2 or 3 hours long, which is incredibly short, but Sonic games in general are short. They're not meant to be long. You're not meant to sit down and play all the games in one, or all of a Sonic game in just one sitting. Because that's missing the whole point of Sonic, where you explore the level. Yeah, you still have the essence of, like, gotta go fast, but you still have these massive levels with different secrets here and there that you just want to, like, look through.
It seems a little odd. Why do I get this feeling that a lot of the newer Sonic games, they're getting mixed to negative reviews, whereas it's always the older classic ones like Sonic Mania and the original Sonic games that are the ones that are constantly being praised?
It's because Sonic Team hasn't been able to work really well on 3D, on the 3D Sonic games. The 2D Sonic games are fantastic. Like, I'm pretty sure back in October I talked about this with Sonic Mania, where I love Sonic Mania. It was so much fun. I still play Sonic Mania whenever I get bored, and I just don't feel like sitting down and playing a real story-heavy game. So I'll just, like, pop up my Switch and just play Sonic Mania. And so It's really because Sonic Team is just... I don't think they really know how they want their 3D Sonic games to go.
Do you mean like it's just an issue graphically, or was the actual gameplay, or...?
It's with the actual gameplay, because like there's that transition between 2D to 3D that involves that Z-axis that throughout the years, from Sonic Adventure 1 to even in Sonic Generations, they just have not been able to get it right. And Sonic Generations is one of the most praised 3D Sonic games, but it still has its issues.
Alright, makes sense. Alright, well, Sonic Forces, as you guys probably know, it's also available for purchase from the eShop, 6.6 gigabytes. And, yeah, so I guess, well, I'm definitely not getting it, and it sounds like you won't be getting it for the Switch either, right?
I won't be getting it for the Switch, but if you do have a Switch, and you don't have a big gaming PC, or an Xbox One, or a PS4, and you are a Sonic fan, I would say get it. I would say get it and Sonic Mania, and keep an open mind when you play it. Don't go in with the idea of, oh, people say it's a bad Sonic game, so I'm gonna play it just because it's a bad Sonic game. Go in there with an open mind and think, maybe this has potential. Maybe it can be good, and maybe I'll like it. And this is all coming from the person who honestly enjoys Sonic 06, which is one of the buggiest Sonic games out there.
Sounds good. And on one last note, for those of you guys who are interested in the Switch version, if you download the digital copy before January 23rd, apparently you get some free DLC included as well. Okay, so, next we are talking about...
Mario Party, the top 100 on the Nintendo 3DS.
Okay, so, I don't really have much to say on this. I mean,
I don't either. It's a Mario Party game where it's just like the top 100 minigames, and that's all I really know.
I think the real question everyone wants to know, is this game going to be considered as one of the top 100 3DS games?
I doubt that very much.
Okay, case in point, I don't think a lot of people are very interested in it. It kind of feels weird to me because, like, I understand from a nostalgic perspective, right? You know, they're taking some of the mini-games from previous Mario parties and, you know, repackaging them together. Don't you think it might have been better releasing it on the Switch?
Yeah, probably. But the 3DS is more available to people. And because, you know, it's a Mario Party where it's a bunch of mini-games, it's going to be targeted more towards children and families. And so it makes sense that it's on the 3DS, but they could have done a lot better if it was on the Switch.
I guess in the meantime, we'll be waiting for Mario Party 11, I think.
Well, I just hope they don't have that dang car.
Well, hopefully, with Kimishima in control, so far he's doing a good job, so maybe he'll make sure they don't do that again. Alright, and that brings us to the final point of discussion tonight, and it is a big one.
Pokémon Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. Hoo boy! Do you have anything you want to say, Scott? I know you haven't been able to play the game yet, because Amazon hasn't gotten it to you yet, but is there anything you want to get out of the way first before I deep dive into this?
Okay, two things. First, Amazon sucks, especially when it comes to priority shipping. And second, I'm not sure how I feel about this, because as a Pokemon trainer for, what, 20 years now, I am interested in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, but at the same time, I don't want to say like I'm worn out of the 3DS, but At least from what I've seen in terms of the footage and what you've been describing to me, I don't know why, it hasn't really piqued my interest as much as other Pokemon games.
I'll say this, Sun and Moon definitely piqued my interest when it was announced, because I was bored of Generation 6. I didn't like X and Y, and I didn't like Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. I feel like all 4 of those games were very mediocre, at best. I don't like them. I can't bring myself to replay them. And there's games from another gen that I can't bring myself to replay, but that's a different story.
Here we go!
But Sun and Moon caught my attention. I was curious as to what they were going to do with it, and I liked what I saw in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. It obviously had its flaws. Some things felt really weird, and I feel like the things that... Overall, I'm not finished with Ultra Moon yet. I'm just now getting to the 4th island. And... I will say, for everyone who said that the story is the same and it's not different at all, they need to shut up and actually play the game, because they're wrong. The intro, while still a bit tedious at some point, you still have to deal with the trainer school, it's still different. You are almost immediately getting your starter and getting into a Pokemon battle. You are met with 2 brand new characters that are part of this weird squadron that you know nothing about, that you learn throughout the story. The trial is still the same. Well, some trials are still the same. Some trials, however, have been changed. The most notable trial that's been changed would be the Electric Trial. Completely different than how it was in Sun and Moon. And the story, while yes, it's still Team Skull, Aether Foundation, it's different. Lucamine's actions are different, and her motives are different. Lily and Gladiion's motives are different. It changes the difference in the motive and the difference in the characters, and the addition changes the story and changes how you think about these characters. In Sun and Moon, you had Lucamine wanting to release these Ultra Beasts onto Alola, and she wanted to have them for herself, to protect them and love them. Most notably, you see this with Nihilego, the Pokemon whose name is literally a mash of Nihilist and Ego. In Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, that's completely different. Nihilego, you spoilers, you meet it once, but when you fight Lucamine at the Aether Foundation, because that's still the same, you fight her for a different reason. Nihilego isn't present, and the entire scene is different. The story is different, which is a lot of people are misunderstanding that and thinking, oh, it's just the same game. When Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon were announced, Nintendo and Game Freak said this was an alternative story. It was different, and they have held that. Yes, some things have been the same, like going to Po-Town and fighting Team Skull, but the Aether Foundation is doing things differently. Lucamine is doing things differently. You don't deal with the Ultra Beast like you did with Necrozma, like you did with Nihilego. Necrozma is the main part of the story, not these Ultra Beasts, not Lunala or Solgaleo.
It sounds like, in a way, I don't want to assume, like, the sales aren't going to be as high as Sun or, the original Sun or Moon, but I guess if they aren't as high, maybe it's because people are under the misconception that it's identically the same game. Like, you know, even when I saw it initially, it was weird, because in a way I want to compare this to, like, Black and White and Black and White 2, except Black and White 2 was a sequel, whereas Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, it's like... It's a retelling of Sun and Moon, but in an alternate universe, like a different parallel dimension, I guess, akin to Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire in a way.
I would say that comparing it to Black 2 and White 2 is very fair, because Black 2 and White 2 had a different story than Black and White. Yes, it was a continuation of the story that Black and White had already built, but... in a way, it's kind of the same with Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. They're not sequels, like you said, but it is it's a different story entirely. So, like, yeah, it's like a parallel world with Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, but it's better. I can honestly say that I prefer this. I prefer Ultra Moon's story to Pokemon Moon.
Okay. I want to go over a couple of the differences here, and again, I'm just reading off of this, because obviously I haven't had a chance to play the game, but just for reference, so some of the things that have changed over last year, you get to fight against all of the previous team's leaders, so Giovanni, Lysander, Cyrus.
Ghetsis.
Yeah. Aside from
Archie and Maxie.
Oh yeah. Well, as if we weren't tired enough from them in Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire.
Well, here's the
yeah.
You say Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, but if you go back and look at Archie and Maxie's design in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, it's not their design from Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. It is their original designs from Ruby and Sapphire.
This makes it so hard to follow continuity-wise. Jeez.
At this point, I think given what Nintendo's been doing with, like, Breath of the Wild and with Pokemon within the last couple of years, I think Nintendo's pretty much decided to say, and pardon my language here, continuity, we're just gonna do whatever we want with the story.
That's what it seems like it's coming down to. Some of the other stuff here, I guess I should bring up. So, a couple of new Ultra Beasts and new Pokemon. So, forgive me in advance because I still don't know if I'm pronouncing these correctly. We've got Poipole, which is Poison type. And I know you're going to make a funny reference to that in a second. But other than that, we've got Naganadel, Poison Dragon, so like Dragalge in a sense. I'm going to go on record saying I haven't heard of any of these except for Poipole, because Poipole is a story-based, or a mainline story-based Ultra Beast throughout Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, so beyond that one, I know nothing about these Ultra Beasts, because I usually go into a secluded type thing when it comes to new Pokemon games. That way, whenever I see everything, it'll be a fresh experience, and everything will be a surprise. Okay, makes sense. There are three others here. Stakataka, which is a rock and steel type, which surprisingly, and I mentioned this to you before, looks like a Guardian from Zelda Breath of the Wild. I'm just waiting for it to shoot like a laser beam out of its eye there, and that'll pretty much confirm that. Blacephalon, which is a fire ghost, similar to Chandelure, and Zeraora, which is a pure electric type. But yeah, you want to mention to me what you said about Poipole before?
If you can, please pull up a picture of Poipole on screen right now.
Alright.
Look at it. Poipole, Poipole. You look at it and see that its color scheme is purple. Tell me that is not a Pokemon named after the color purple, but said with like a Brooklyn accent, or if like Joey Wheeler from Yu-Gi-Oh! Was saying the word purple.
That is so true. When they come out, when they how should I put this? When they run out of names to use, I guess, this is what ends up happening. Maybe we should just call it UB Adhesive from now on.
It's a cute Ultra Beast, I'll give it that. But the name, come on. I know Nintendo is never good with names, but this is Game Freak.
Well, I mean, I guess as long as we don't find out next generation there's a Pokemon that has, like, reddish or something, and I don't know what to say on that. Alright, so some of the other stuff that's new here, what else here? So we've got Duskmane and Dawnwing's forms of Solgaleo and Lunala.
Necrozma.
Oh, Necrozma, right. Merging with Solgaleo and Lunala.
It's sort of like how Black Kyurem and White Kyurem is still just Kyurem, but in a different form.
That's true. With DNA splicers technology.
I have no clue if that's how it's done in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, though.
Okay. Some new Z moves here. So, looks like Como-O gets Clangorous Soul Blaze. Lycanroc Splintered Storm Shards.
I actually just got Stone Edge on my Lycanroc, so I can't wait to give that move a try, because I haven't seen it. The only Z moves I've seen was Como-O's and Mimikyu's.
Okay. Oh, the Let's Snuggle Forever.
Yes.
Oh god, what's going on here? Necrozma forms, you've got Searing Sunrays Smash and Menacing Moonrays Maelstrom. And last but not least, Ultra Necrozma has Light That Burns the Sky.
Ultra what?
It says Ultra Necrozma, so maybe just both forms of it get it. I don't know. A couple changes. Apparently, yeah, I was mentioning this earlier, SOS battles, no longer unlimited help. So I guess the wild Pokemon is only calling in one ally this time. New clothing options for your characters. You've got the Battle Agency, which is... Wow, what's the name of that facility in the Battle Frontier that had rental Pokemon?
The Battle Factory?
Yes. So I guess like that.
I do want to mention something about the clothes real quick that you can get. In the mall on Mele Mele Island, depending on what gender you play as, you get a different type of Pokemon outfit in that clothes shopping center inside the mall. If you're playing as male, you get this Como armor set, and if you play as female, you get a Lurantis outfit. And it is not worth it until you get to the end of the game, you've beaten everything, and you just want to grind and grind for money. Because I play as a female all the time, because it's a tradition at this point. I've always played as a female in Pokemon games. And for the Lurantis set, I decided to add up to see how much total it was, and it was 2,400,000 Pokédollars.
Ouch.
That is more than what you get by helping out the international police at the end of the Ultra Beast missions in Sun and Moon.
And no doubt someone will actually buy that costume probably by the end of the week, knowing how this
I'm still planning on doing it.
Alright. What else have we got here? So, new mini-games, Mantine Surf, Ultra Wormhole flying through Ultra Space. Obviously, all the legendary Pokémon up until now, except maybe the Mythicals, I guess, are included. Just like we predicted a year ago. Alola Photo Club to take photos of you and your Pokémon, getting stamps. Totem stickers, so you can actually catch larger versions, so I guess the actual totem Pokemon there.
You don't actually catch them. You get enough stickers, and then the totem-sized Pokemon is given to you.
Oh, okay.
And there are differences between, Sun and Moon. In Sun, you get an Alolan Marowak, or you get the totem Alolan Marowak, but in Ultra Moon, you get a totem Araquanid.
Is it just those, or are there others?
Oh, there's definitely others. You get more the more totem stickers you collect. You get your first totem-sized Pokemon at 20 stickers, and that will be Gumshoes or Raticate, depending on what version you're playing. If you're playing Ultra Moon, once you get 20 totem stickers, you get a totem Raticate. In Sun, totem Gumshoes. It goes 20, 40, 50, 70, 80, and then 100, I believe. In terms of, like, the amount of totem stickers required to get the totem Pokemon.
Okay. I'm assuming that the larger totem Pokemon have higher base stats, then?
I would have no clue. I haven't used any. I will say, I feel bad for those playing Ultra Sun, because they kind of get ripped off.
In what way?
Once you get 100 stickers, let's just say you're not getting a cool dragon.
Okay,
like those in Ultra Moon are.
Well, looks like I'll be using the global link then. Or the global trade station. What else do we have here? So, a couple of differences with Rotom decks. Okay.
The new changes to the Rotom decks are honestly great. I love it.
You mentioned to me that there was, I guess, some similar type O powers, I guess, in the past, or?
Yes, I wanted to bring this up too. So, in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, you get this, like, fancy feature called a Roto Lotto. What this is every time you see the Rotom decks on your touch screens, eyes flashing yellow, tap on its eyes, and then you enter this, it's basically a lottery. The touchscreen rolls, you hear this little audio, and then you tap the touchscreen or press A, and you get a special power. Let me open up my 3DS real quick, and I'll open up my bag. And so you can get things like a Roto Boost, which you use during battle, where it raises the stats, all of your stats, of all your battling Pokemon. Or you can get something like Roto EXP points, which increases the amount of EXP you get after a battle. And then there's this thing called Roto Encounter, which increases the chance of encountering higher level wild Pokemon. And then there's the Roto Catch, which increases the catch rate, or it increases the chance to catch a Pokemon.
So is all of this just random?
Yeah, it's random. I thought there was a way that you could cheese it to get nothing but stars every time, but that seems to only work for a while until, like, you get stars over and over and over again, and then it just stops giving you stars.
Ah, okay. And how frequent do you get this opportunity to spin it, I guess?
every now and again. I haven't been really keeping up with the time on how frequent it is, but anywhere from like 5 to 10 minutes.
Whenever you get an egg for the first time in the nursery, Rotom immediately activates a Roto power called Roto Hatch, which lets your eggs hatch faster. Sort of like how the O power is in X and Y and Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire.
Okay, well that's definitely a nice addition.
And one more thing, in some battles, this is completely RNG. If you use a Z move, there will be a chance that your Rotom Dex will fly onto the screen and restore the power to use that Z move.
I'm just gonna flat out and assume that this isn't gonna happen in online competitive battles.
Absolutely not.
Because otherwise that would kind of seem a little overpowered. But
It definitely would.
Alright, aside from that, any other major points on the new decks?
Other than whenever you see the Rotom like talking to you, always check and see what it says, because sometimes you'll be able to respond to Rotom, to the point where Rotom will even give you a nickname. For a while, Rotom was calling me Roto R, basically Rotor, and now Rotom has decided to call me Master in the game.
Okay, then.
It's very weird, but it's neat in a way.
I'll have to take your word for it on that one. That's unique. Alright, so, last point here, just some new moves. I know we haven't seen any of these, but, couple of odd names. Plasma Fists, which is an electric-type move, learned, I believe, by Zeraora. Photon Geyser, which is a psychic-type move. It kind of reminds me of Kite in Yu-Gi-Oh! And, I believe the last one is called Mind Blown, which I guess is a parody off of the way people are acting sometimes with internet memes, and that's a fire-type move learned by, it was one of the new, Ultra Beasts, Blacephalon.
Well,
Okay.
I can admit I have not seen any of these moves, but that last one is very interesting.
Yeah, I kind of had a facepalm moment as soon as I found out. I'm gonna be honest with you. But aside from that, I think that covers everything in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon as far as the updates. Anything else you want to add on that?
There are some minor changes where it's like the text bubbles were updated. The UI in general has been updated. The bag looks different. The battle screen looks different. And honestly, I will say this. If you played Sun and Moon, definitely try to pick up Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon just to see the differences yourself. And if you decided like you were gonna skip or if you wanted to skip Sun and Moon, and you were curious about whether or not you should pick up Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, definitely pick it up, because it is a good experience. And I'm coming off of just finishing Moon for the second time, just like 3 days before Ultra Moon and Ultra Sun came out. So I still have like all of Moon fresh in my mind while I'm playing Ultra Moon. So it's able to like help me pick up where these differences are at.
Alright. Well, I think for any anyone who's been a Pokemon trainer as long as we have, it's pretty much going to be a guaranteed pickup here. But yeah, overall, I think reception for the most part is positive. So I just want to spend these last few minutes that we've got tonight talking about one other thing in particular, and that's where Pokemon goes from here. Just because we know that it's been confirmed Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon are the final core titles for the 3DS, and we know that the next Pokemon game is coming out on the Switch, and to add to all that discussion, apparently a rumor has leaked out, supposedly a credible rumor, but a rumor nonetheless, that due to the success of Breath of the Wild and Super Mario Odyssey, Game Freak might be looking at doing something disruptive, in quotes, to the formula for the next Pokemon game. So first off, I want to get your thoughts on that.
So, more disruptive than what they already did with Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon and Sun and Moon?
That's what it's being claimed here.
Because the whole, like, one of the major appeals to Sun and Moon and Alola in general was that there were no gyms. It was the trials would replace the gyms, and the trials, you can't compare those to gyms. It's not fair. Trials are completely different. Sure, it's still the same system of you beat the trials, then you go to beat the Elite Four, then become champion, but trials in themselves are not gyms. And so, does this mean they could be trying to go with a more open world Pokemon game? Or what? That sounds very off.
It seems, at least from what I'm reading, that's the general consensus. Again, I mean, these are all just rumors, so everyone please take them with a grain of salt. But at least from what I'm seeing here, maybe that's the route they're going. Like, is it possible that they're going to create an open world region where you, instead of it being like a linear story, you can go anywhere you want and challenge, I don't know, the gyms or the trials in any order you want, or...
I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that. Because for something like Zelda, it works, because the very first Zelda game was open world. But Pokemon, even in Red and Blue, has always been incredibly linear in terms of how the region is. So making it open world, it just doesn't seem right. There's something about that on Pokemon that just seems off. I feel like they shouldn't do that, but if that's the direction, then I'm curious as to how it'll be, because the thing that keeps drawing me back to Pokemon games is always going to be the story. And so, if they're following something like Breath of the Wild, that worries me in a bit, because Breath of the Wild didn't have that strong of a story. It was a great game, and it was able to be nominated for Game of the Year, which is a great feat, but the story was really missing. Now, I wouldn't know about Super Mario Odyssey because I haven't been able to play that yet, and I won't be able to play that until Christmas, but I know that it's been getting a lot of praise. And so I don't know.
It sort of brings up the concerns that you raised last month when we were talking about this, where I know you mentioned that you were hoping this wasn't going to become like a trend, was the open world type of gameplay, and if it does, it looks like maybe they're trying to grasp some of that success with Breath of the Wild and Odyssey and start incorporating it into some of the other franchises here.
I don't think it would work very well with Pokemon because of the fact that Pokemon is based on an RNG system. The Pokemon you battle in the wild will be random. But in every route they have a set amount of levels. And you can't really do that in an open world type game. Like, if you look at Xenoblade Chronicles, or Xenoblade Chronicles X, both games that were on the Wii, the Wii U, and the 3DS, you could be, like, level 10 and run into a level 60 or 70 enemy, and it would just ruin you.
That reminds me of the first time I came across a stone talus.
Well, here's the thing about Breath of the Wild and things like the Stone Talus. Even if you're just starting out, you can still beat a Stone Talus.
Oh yeah.
There's nothing stopping you from beating that. If you're like, if you're starting out in a Pokemon journey and you're on an open world, and let's say you've got like a level 5 Squirtle as your starter Pokemon, and you're just off on your own, and then suddenly you run into like a level 50 like Lilligant in the wild, you're basically screwed.
That's true. Unless, well, I mean, they'd have to, if they do take the open world approach, I guess they would have to change it to something similar, where if you did come across a high-leveled Pokemon, that you could just avoid it instead of just, randomly walking in the grass and then you're forced into an encounter, right? Like,
well, that would mean they would have to literally change how Pokemon games are played if they go with this open world format. Because you would have to be able to physically see the Pokemon via, like, Xenoblade Chronicles.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be going into, like, a da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da scene where you battle this random Pokemon. You would have to physically be able to see it, which that takes out the RNG element. Which, God, I hate RNG, but that's been a core thing in the Pokemon games. Where, if I want, let's say I want a Zorua in Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, I gotta go to the trainer school. I know that's there. But, I also know that I'll be fighting a few other Pokemon, hoping to get my Zorua.
The only other thing that I know for sure is that, apparently, there has been a bit of pressure put on Game Freak to try to get out the Pokemon title for the Switch as quickly as possible. I still don't think 2018 is going to be the year for it, but I guess Nintendo is trying to get them to finish development of this really quickly.
I think that would be because of the fans. Because, I'm gonna be real, us as fans have not been very kind lately. And this is like Nintendo fans, Sony fans, Sega fans, any fans whatsoever of anything. We have not been kind to these companies that make the games that we love so much. We demand so much, like we're all self-entitled brats. And that's not fair. There shouldn't be this pressure of, oh guys, we gotta get this thing out by November of 2018, because that can ruin a game. And a prime example of this is Sonic 06. Nobody who is a Pokemon fan would want a Pokemon game like Sonic 06 where it was rushed, it was buggy, and it did not have the time to be finished.
I might not be the only one who feels this way, but personally, if I had some advice to give to Game Freak and basically Ishihara right now, I would say I would feel better about them releasing this Switch title in 2019 or later, rather than rushing it out for next year. And I don't know if it's just because I'm tired of the 3DS genre and I need a break, but I would prefer that they take the time to do it right and to actually put in a considerable amount of time and effort, rather than just, you know, trying to push this out the door as fast as possible just to say, oh, hey, by the way, you know, the Switch is doing so well, and we have to get a Pokemon title out as fast as we can to take part in this, so, anyways, just my thoughts.
I feel like 2019 would be an okay release date, but I also feel like it depends on how long Game Freak's been working on the Switch title, right?
Yeah.
So, like, if they've been working on it for longer than they've been working on Sun and Moon, because how long have we known about the NX? 2015? I want to say 2015.
Yeah, roughly.
If they've been working on a Pokemon title for the Switch since, like, say, 2016, when Sun and Moon came out, then certainly they would be able for a mid to late 2018 release, or at the very latest, like, mid 2019 release. Because they have said, unless things have been changed, that we may not even see the game until 2019, which I'm perfectly fine with, as I still have Ultra Moon to finish, then I'm going to go back and start up Ultra Sun. I'm going to be fine. It's that I don't want a rushed story, or I wouldn't want a rushed story or a Pokemon game with no story.
I don't want to make any assumptions on the timeline here. All I can say is there was that article talking about how Game Freak didn't think the Switch would be successful. So I don't know if that leads into anything regarding, like, maybe once they saw how successful it was, then it was back, like, in May or June, that they then decided, oh, okay, well, now we know, you know, the console is going to be okay in terms of selling output, and we're going to start development right away. Or, like you said, I mean, maybe it was last year, but maybe they had, like, a backup plan for maybe a 3DS successor just in case the Switch didn't do well. So I don't know how much time has been put into development, but I mean, personally, like I said, I think we're looking at 2019. I'm okay with it. I'm fine with them taking a year off. I mean, especially since this is going to be really the first, I want to say the first true HD core title, if you think about it. So I'm fine with them just, you know, taking the extra time to do it properly, but, didn't you say that they also, oh, what was it? You said that they split their team up, and most of the newer team members were working on Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, whereas the older dev team was focusing on the Switch?
I did find some article saying that, like, the newer guys were they worked on Gen 7. They were the ones who worked on Gen 7, and the vets are working on the Switch title, which makes me believe that, because I told you the other day something about, what's his name? Satoshi didn't work on, or he didn't direct on Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, Sun and Moon, and who's the other one?
Masuda?
Yeah, Masuda didn't work on Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, and they didn't work on it because they were having trouble thinking of what they wanted to do with it. Which makes me think they were like, hey, new guys, work on this, we'll see what you got, and we'll add our creative influences every now and again. While they took the veterans and worked on something more hardcore.
It does make sense. I mean, the other thing to consider as well is the fact that because we're transitioning to just one single hybrid platform, I would assume that now that Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon are done, basically the developers of Gen 7, well, now they can join up with the veterans, and now you've got like double the workforce in a sense, right? Like twice as many team members. So I guess it's possible they can push out the Switch version faster now that it's freed up some space, but I guess we'll have to wait and see.
I just want to know when Game Freak is going to team up with Genius Sonority again.
We know Genius Sonority still exists, and that's the sad part about this, is that they're still around. It's not like they've gone bankrupt or anything.
The last game they made was Pokemon Shuffle in 2015.
If there's anyone who can get them back on board, it's Kamishima, because he was around during the GameCube era. Heck, he probably had some influence over Colosseum and Gale of Darkness. But anyways, we'll see what happens. So, I think that's pretty much, yeah, that's pretty much all we've got for tonight. Anything you want to wrap up with?
Not really, no. I think I've said everything I wanted to say.
Okay, perfect. And that's it, we're done for tonight. Remember, you can get the latest announcements and updates on your favorite TOONDISE programs by visiting the all-new TOONDISE.com. Also follow us on Twitter at TOONDISE, #GameView. And if you enjoy what we're doing, you can show your support on patreon.com/TOONDISE, and also by hitting that like button. Until next time, I'm Scott.
I'm Roxy.
And we will see you later.